Hello and welcome everybody. My name is Seven Sky Spelios here on Dan's Tunes. Today we have Temple Canyon, a special video interview. You want to all introduce yourselves?
Mark?
Hi, I'm Mariko Rule, lead singer and guitarist of Temple Canyon.
Hi, I'm Al Ryder. I play the Skins.
I'm Jason Chow. I play the bass.
So, Temple Canyon, how did that name come about?
I think Mariko should...
Okay. So I always like to start that answer by saying that I did think of those words independently of each other, and it was because I was just like trying to come up with anything that was sort of symbolic of the music, because I thought, well, that's what the name really should be if it's going to be meaningful at all. And then I thought, like all band names I've ever come up with, or anyone has ever come up with, you Google it to see if it's already a band camp or something, because that's pretty much usually it is.
Yeah.
Especially if the words are generic like that, So to my surprise, it was not, but it was a real place. And I found this weird article about a place in Colorado that was discovered in the mining era. And they had discovered this natural amphitheater is what they called it, which was just a giant cave. And people started going into the cave and they started calling it a temple. And then the whole area became known as Temple Canyon. And I was like, that's really freaking cool. Yeah. That really works for me in terms of a place to be named after.
That is really cool. And similar to an amphitheater, you guys have such a reverberant and thick atmosphere in your sound. Do you feel like your name has somewhat influenced that, or vice versa?
Vice versa, for sure. Yeah, that was where the idea for Temple Canyon was coming from, was just feeling like you're going into this reverberant place whenever we were playing.
Yeah, it kind of stuck out to me because I feel like in this day and age, everyone's going for the really dry sounds, really sharp, punchy things. So it was kind of refreshing to hear kind of the opposite of that.
That's cool.
Very wet sound.
Thank you.
That's cool.
You should have seen our gig last night in the pouring rain. It was
real very wet.
For you, Mariko, I'm guessing you write pretty much all the songs, and especially lyrics. That's your forte. Mm-hmm. Every song in this new album is meaningful in some way. There's no song that's just filler just because you had to fill up space. So how do you decide which stories in your life become new songs?
Yeah, I don't know that I decide, but, more like I have to tell this story because that's just what I'm dealing with, and that's what I'm thinking about nonstop or whatever, and so it just becomes necessary to write about it. It's usually very immediate that way. The stories are just this is literally what's happening in my life, so I'm going to write a story about it. Or I'm reprocessing something from the past that's but it's taking over my brain to the point that I'm writing about it. And I mean, I guess beyond that, I don't think I can take responsibility for writing, my life story even, or anyone else's life story, but I did become pretty interested in the last few years in the history of my family. It's something that I hadn't really been thinking that deeply about up until that point, and realizing how vague my sensibility of my family history is, or my parents' history, and that it's just these little bits of information of a little story here and there that I was told as a child, and that I didn't really know the full picture. So I sort of just started making it up a little bit, and then asking for information too, to infuse into it something that was a little bit more historical, but also just allowing myself to write stories based on the little bit of information I had. Because I thought that was kind of more interesting. It's the American story. It's it's everyone's story, in that way, because it's not fully based on 100% accuracy, perhaps.
Yeah. There's a line in the band's bio that says, "Dedicated to our family of blood and friendship." So how do these social interactions between friends and family shape your songwriting?
yeah, entirely, I guess, to like elaborate on what I was saying, like that's where I came. I wrote that on my first ever record that I made in my bedroom with a friend a few years ago, and I wrote that on that album too. I just thought it was a sweet idea. It's like, I think my family's pretty kind of dismantled to some extent, my blood family, and that's what a lot of the songs are about too, and so my friendship family has become like equally substantial to me, so
yeah.
I think that's actually true for all of us.
Yeah.
And just given the fact that all three of us are transplants to the Seattle area, I feel like we rely pretty heavily on our community or friends, like, for support.
Yeah.
What is the band's mindset on being a transplant? And do a few of you come from the same place, or you're all from different parts
All
of
from
the...
different places, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So where'd you all come from?
I came from Wisconsin.
From New York.
California.
Yeah. And you all came to Seattle for completely independent reasons?
Yeah.
I mean, I was personally drawn here by the music scene, at least partially.
I had no real reason to want to move here. I kind of just
had a reason to stay.
I had a reason to
Hopefully.
leave. I had many reasons to leave New York, and that was enough just to go on the road and just end up here, kind of. Like, I had a friend who was out here just kind of getting a feel for the city, and we kind of decided to live month to month, and 10 years later,
Here you are.
here I am.
You haven't left.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean I haven't wanted to leave, but I do love Seattle, and I think the best decision I ever made was actually to come here, for better or for worse.
I came here for school. I was looking for a program to get a BFA in dance, and the person I was living with in San Francisco recommended Seattle to me as like a cool city, and so I just looked up schools here and found Cornish, and got in. So it was kind of a nice, like, not too far away location to go to. And I definitely thought, I'm going to finish my degree as fast as I can, and I'm going to go back to San Francisco, because I was really happy there, mostly. And I love California, but I did find my life mate during school. So, or I guess it was technically like, no, it was during school. Yeah, it was like the very last semester for me of school that I found my husband. So that wasn't ready to be over when I graduated a few months later.
We should give a shout out to Atticus, actually.
Yeah.
Atticus, yeah.
Oh, is this the hardcore D&D?
Yes,
it is,
hardcore
yes.
D&D gamer.
Yeah. What kind of role does D&D play in your life?
Oh. It's so funny. I was just having this great conversation yesterday about like the parallels between songwriting and D&D, because much of what the D&D game revolves around is writing characters, and like, so
Storytelling.
yeah, storytelling, making up characters with a lot of detail and backstory, and sort of just coming up with like a general like blurb idea and then building on it slowly. So ironically, what Atticus does with his group, and has been doing for years, has had this group for like over a decade now, is very much parallel to like me having a band and writing songs. Like, we can relate on all these things very similarly, and I can just use it as like a backdrop for comparison a lot of the time. It's just kind of cool. And I mean, they don't practice, they play in my house every week, and have been doing that for years. So I overhear a lot of the characters going on, and I don't know.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
How much input, how much musical decision do you guys have in crafting the maybe crafting the chords or crafting form?
This is a very interesting question
How much power do you two
to
hold?
be asking right now.
I think it's varied through the course of the band, and it kind of varies by song too.
Yeah.
Sometimes, the ideas come in and it's already pretty fully formed, and at that point, there doesn't seem to be much like leeway in terms of chord structure.
Yeah, I think
sometimes I feel like we start from a more rudimentary idea and then the song kind of comes together. I think we've been writing that way more as we've been playing in this format for longer.
Yeah. From my perspective, one of the best things about playing in this band is, you mentioned chemistry right away in one of your first questions, and I think that's why I love playing in this band so much, is just the blatant chemistry that we have. One thing I love about this band is that oftentimes she'll just bring a song to us, and on the first time that we play it, that's probably the best time that we've ever played it. And we're just trying to constantly recapture that first time.
I would say a lot of the parts are written pretty intuitively without a whole lot of discussion.
Yeah.
Of course, that happens sometimes. But.
Yeah. But I think, that's not every song. Like, there are songs that we've had to work really hard at right off the bat. Or that we thought was done for so long, and then all of a sudden we're like, we don't like this part or this part, and now we totally revamp it. And that happens sometimes too, but I think a lot of the time it really just flows so naturally. And I've been playing music for a fair amount of time right now, and I think that's pretty rare to have it to the degree in which we have it,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not a lot of people get to see that. But yeah, it's pretty cool when it happens.
And also us striving or thriving as a 3-piece over previous lineups, because I've just realized like more and more recently that I'm like really obsessed with structure, and that the ability to articulate and what's the word, like
pass off
or whatever. I'm looking for like a better word, but yeah, like, give the information necessary to the other musicians about what the structure of a song is, the parts that have been formed already coming into it, because so much has been formed sometimes, is like really overwhelming. And we're lucky to sometimes, like Al was saying, like the first time we play it is the best time, because no one's really aware of that and they're just kind of feeling it out. But the moment at which we're trying to attack it from this very particular point of like, this is the chorus and this is the verse and we want it to be exactly this way, it's like requires everyone to be extremely aware of a lot of different details. And I don't know, that can be a challenge versus a band who writes their songs collectively and is there for every step of the way of forming each part. Versus like if I come in and I'm like, no, these are all the 4 parts, learn them all at once and write your parts to them, and know exactly the order in which they come. It's like kind of, we sometimes rush through that really intensely and it can be challenging. So as I've started to notice that, I've just started to like realize like the need to like really take our time to like fully understand the structure when it's coming in that fully developed form is so necessary to like avoid problems and frustration later on.
So no freeform jazz.
Unfortunately, no. I think we hope to be that good someday. I mean, that's why it's so great playing with guys like this, because like they're so able to play it like a freeform jazz song. Like they can just play on a fully formed song as if it is freeform jazz and have it sound good. Like I'd be fine with that. We could just play all our gigs. I'll just play a new song. They just follow me, and that's how we play every song. But I don't think
it's like when Joni was playing with Jocko.
Yeah,
she got real jazzy. Like out of nowhere. I mean, Joni's always been jazzy, but like real jazzy.
Yeah.
Once you involve Jocko.
Yeah, I do think that like the feeling of being free within a song is one of my favorite parts of being in this band. And I feel like we are able to accomplish that even though we most of the time know exactly what's coming up next. I think the emotion that we put into the part is usually very fresh and kind of direct, I would say. But I do feel like since being whittling down to a 3-piece, just being able to focus on each other more, it has opened up possibilities that weren't really there before.
So you have the potential for some very strange, abstract, visual lyrics, and I think one of the best examples of that is in I Tangled with the Serpent. One line that really stuck out to me was, "Serpent seep, set me free, leave my body, the crooked lines you left on me won't wash from my skin, but I'll keep untangling. What does that mean?
Yeah, it's complex, right? That song is pretty complex. It's like very like weirdly intellectual and also visceral and personal. And there's like all these different weird characters and angles. And like how the serpent is like representative of different things at different times, kind of. In that line, it's like a dual perspective of like, for me personally, you know, being kind of bound to the character of the serpent, and dealing with them. So it's like saying like serpent seep, it's like going into me, but then I'm like saying right away back to it like a dialogue, like set me free, leave my body, and then continuing on to say the crooked lines you left on me won't wash from my skin, but I'll keep untangling. So it's just kind of a response to, you know, this back and forth of like something coming into you and you trying to expel it from you. And I kind of wanted that to be like pretty general too, not too personal, like something that could just be relatable to lots of people, you know. So I can't say that the crooked lines you left on me is like a literal thing, but it could be taken literally, because it could be like a serpent like leaving like physical lines on your body in that sense. But also I think more so it's like more metaphorical for like the psychological scars of, you know, a person or someone or something in your life that's afflicting you some pain or difficulty.
Yeah, very deep. I like it. That's probably my favorite line that I looked into.
Cool. Appreciate it. Love talking about lyrics. It's cool. Rare opportunity. Yeah. I guess I just want to say that, you know, the inspiration to make a vinyl record was a big part of this album process, and I've talked about it a little bit publicly, but, you know, it's a good opportunity to say again that it's, you know, been something we've wanted to do for probably every recording we've ever made. We've been like fantasizing about putting it on a vinyl record, and every time we spent so much money on so much of the process leading up to the making of the product that we just were like, we can't do it. It just doesn't make any sense. Because every time you're like, well, we already have a whole nother album in the can already anyways. Should we just wait till the next one? And does that make more sense? Is this going to be better than this one probably, right? Or something. And I don't know. You can cut that part out. But anyways, I think...
now it's gone in.
Yeah.
Well, since we did it DIY...
Yeah.
Since we did it...
Yes, we could talk about that.
We just... We wanted to... You know, I just think it's a cool... It's just an interesting fact that we part of our choice to record this record ourselves, beyond just the creative freedom that we knew it would potentially afford us, it was also like a financial decision to see if that would help us actually follow through with this idea to make a vinyl, and which it has, because it's being pressed right now.
Well, thank you all.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dance Tunes.
Yeah,
Dance Tunes.
Yeah,
This has been Mariko, Al, and Jason.
Yes.
Got it. Thanks everybody for watching. This has been Seven Sky Spielos here on Dance Tunes. We hope to see you in the next music band interview. Until then, goodbye.
Goodbye. Come to our release show on August 24th at Sunset Tavern.
Yeah.
That's important.
That's a
Do it.
August 24th, Sunset.
see you there. We'll be playing with Lonely Mountain Lovers, who've been good friends of ours for a long time. And,
I used to be in that band.
and Afterlife Gift Shop, they're both bands that we're very excited about.
Yeah.
That's the place,
Yeah.
Sunset, not the
Sunset.
time.
Tavern.
Yeah, Sunset,
Yes.
not the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sunset Tavern in Ballard. Come.